Greetings, historians. Welcome to Lore of the Dragon. So, this talk is going to cover a few things on the lore of Skylanders, a topic not brought up much on this channel. As well, it's going to correct some things I said about who created the Skylands and the Core of Light in the first place. Then, the rise and fall of an empire. Today, we're talking about the Ancients and the Arkeyans, and what led to the modern day of Skylands. First, the Ancients. The actual creatures who built the Skylands and the Core of Light. When I said it was the Arkeyans, that was my mistake. Anyhow, the Ancients are said to be incredibly smart, however slumbered a great deal. Despite their shortcomings, they could harness mind magic. And with that, they thought the Skylands and everything in them into existence. However, if in the wrong hands, mind magic could very well end their creation. So, they sealed it away, hoping that no one except themselves would know where it lay. After which, they continue experiments of varying types. However, one would be taken too far. In an attempt to learn and spread the light to other universes, the Ancients created the Rift Engine. In their ignorance, they created a Rift Engine with such immense power, not even they could predict what would happen next. When they used the engine, it opened a rift into a dimension filled with what we know as the darkness, and this crack in reality would let it spread into the Skylands. This action would lead to far-flung destruction and turmoil. While some found themselves empowered by it, some would find friends, family, tribes, even themselves twisted or destroyed by the forces of darkness. The Ancients would then work on experiments to perhaps keep the darkness at bay or end it entirely. Some would end up in places like the Vault of the Ancients, under the watchful eye of another creation of theirs, the Watch Wraiths. However, one that wasn't stored in the vault, and one that we do know of, is the Core of Light. In a place called Ancients Peak, the great machine was constructed using elemental sources from all across their creation, and as each mechanism within it turned, light spread across the Skylands, keeping the darkness from fully overtaking it. However, this wasn't the end of the Ancients' plans for the core. The Eye of the Ancients, a green and gold pendant, by itself could easily put up a grand defense. But in theory, when connected to the Core of Light, the devices combined would let out one final burst of light to cleanse the Skylands of the darkness. So, the Ancients planned and began its construction. Though, in the end, they never completed it. Perhaps for fear of making another mistake with another incredible power. So it seemed it was cast aside, and the darkness for a time, at least I speculate, was only held back by the core. However, another species of robotic and unknown origin rose up to fight the encroaching evil. With their advanced technology, they fought back what forces came their way, protecting what they could of the Ancients' creation. These were the Arkeyans. Their technology would begin to flourish as they pushed back the darkness, no doubt as a result of necessity and, well, what they were. They'd be able to fuse tech and magic together. However, with this newfound power, their focus on the mission would start to wane, and they would turn to more tyrannical mindsets. From their ranks was birthed an empire, which eventually spread across the Skylands. Dated over 10,000 years prior to Spyro's adventure, cities like Arkeyans would be built, holographic recordings being left all over their city, in some cases being guides, which was most likely needed, as since Arkeyans was underground, and supposedly the Arkeyans easily forgot what lay below them, it came in handy. Temples would be formed, which the Spyro Wiki assumes to be in praise of the Arkeyans themselves. Imperial palaces would be put in place, along with the Grand Imperial Palace, tightening security by requiring 2 energy beams to enter the latter, as opposed to former only requiring 1 beam. They would build more of their kind in factories, war machines, Ultrons, etc. However, they did take time for recreational activities. Sports would be invented. Now, whether or not this predated the Empire or not is unknown. But this sport, called Roboto Ball, involved some sort of, well, ball that exploded from time to time, which, needless to say, sometimes led to more adverse consequences for the property or even Arkeyan treasure stashes. which the latter could imply the Arkeyans brought the spoils of war back home, but usually hid it from other Arkeyans. Either way, most likely for all of these reasons, Roboto was outlawed in the Empire despite its once popular stance. As well in Arcus, there is a button to drop rocks and parts of the ceiling. According to what I've found, this is actually to celebrate an Arkeyans' birthday, as it seems dropping rocks on someone else is the best way to do so, specifically for the Arkeyans, no one else. There's also one oddity I've heard about in Arcus, but I can't quite find the source for. However, if it is true, it might give us another glimpse into Archean society and Archean history. In the city of Arcus lies a bakery, which doesn't seem important at face value, which of course the Arkeyans wouldn't need because, well, they're robots. And it actually was shut down after a while because of no one really using it. Some speculate that this could be the implication that the Arkeyans themselves were once organic. To add on to that, it could be that they were turned into inorganic beings by the fusion of tech and magic, and perhaps that might have also turned them into warmongering tyrants. In the case that they were always inorganic, it could have been for species traveling into these cities. However, when the Empire arose, all subjugated species were not allowed in places like Arcus. We just don't quite know. Now, as they finally completed their quest, policies on the now subjugated lands were heavily enforced, leading some to say that their overseers now led with an iron fist. But because the Arkeyans never heard of such a saying, they believed that to their subjects, you needed a legitimate iron fist to lead them, or something of that matter. And so they would create a weapon of immeasurable power, fit for their king. This weapon, known as the Iron Fist of Arcus, originally was a display piece, but eventually, through the fusion of tech and magic, the entire Archean army now stood at the command of the king when he wore it. But even with what control the fist granted, the king didn't quite take away the free spirit of any given Archean, at least it would seem. So this power tempted, and so began a history of internal conflicts to the Empire. It was also mentioned because of what the fist does to an organic, which is give them an Archean body, as is the case with the sorcerer named Chaos when he takes hold of the fist. This is also used by the Skylanders wiki to give more credit to the idea that the Arkeyans might have been organic originally. In that case, it might make sense that any organic, when in contact with a tech and magic combination, would become inorganic. Or perhaps the Arkeyans knew magic so well, they could manipulate it to do exactly that. Either way, 10 millennia before the present Skylanders, giants rose to fight what I assume was now the weakened Archean Empire. Eventually, they'd make their way to the king, and then release the Iron Fist from his grasp. And while this did mean they had their victory, the fist itself, through some sort of magic, sent the giants far from the Skylands, while the great weapon fell silent in the city of Arcus, where it would stay for eons to come. But remnants of the Arkeyans remained. While their war machines and cities fell silent, undead machines guarded the ancient ruins. However, since they were sentient like the other Arkeyans, a few would venture forth, and eventually find their way into the ranks of protectors, later known as the Skylanders. Now, that is going to be it for this part of the video. In the second part, I'll be going into the modern history of Skylands and some of the Skylanders that are related to the Arkeyans, and perhaps some that have a past that is very closely tied to them. But for now, that is going to be it for me. If you guys want to stay updated on videos like this, you can go follow me on my Twitter page, or you can stay updated on my community tab here on YouTube. Or rather, if you just want to talk with other people in the community, you can go into the comments section, and you can go into the Lore of the Dragon Discord. The link to the Twitter and the Discord will be down in the description below. With that said, if you guys just want to stick around the channel to just see things when they come out, that is more than fine with me. But that's going to be it. I hope to see you all the next time we talk and speculate. Stay safe, historians.